Alright, welcome back, patrons of the Rocketry Show, for part 2 of our for part 2 of the video of me going through the modular design of my rockets here. Here we have the booster section of Comanche, if you remember, and part 1 I was talking about how the T-nuts are attached, and I noticed after I was done recording on this section I was showing you last time, the damaged section, which is actually the original section that was here actually. I was talking about the T-nuts, and here you can actually see where I've attached these T-nuts. So these I used some regular 30-minute epoxy and to hold these T-nuts in place, and I've since changed that over the JB weld just because, but you can certainly see, you know, in here in the details here how that was stuck in. I basically turn them around the opposite way and epoxy the flat end down into the tube there. There, it's probably in focus there. So that's how those are attached. So thought that would make a good video to show you what I did there. Now we're going to take apart the booster section here, show you how that's put together, and we're going to pull off the apogee bay, which I will get into more detail on this on part 3. Not the apogee bay, the drogue charge, which I do call this the apogee bay on my internal paperwork here, but this is the section that houses the drogue charge. And you know what, before we get into the fins and all that, since this is part of the booster, let's just go ahead and explore this, and we'll do the rest of the fins and all that on part 3 here, because I'm here and I'm making a moral judgment call here, so so to speak. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to pull this section off here, and here you can see where the T-nuts are JB welded in place here. Again, this rocket uses aluminum T-nuts. It's kind of an experiment because I was working on making something that's as light as possible, as I happily bump the tripod here on the camera. Okay, on this apogee section here you see that I have on this section a little bar, and this was to prevent what happened on the first launch of Comanche, which is part of the reason why the fin cans were just got destroyed here. And one of the things that happened was that the original design of Comanche, it was possible for the little plastic cap on the top of the motor, the Aerotech motor, to get in here, and it wedged itself into the pass-through tube and block the ejection charge from going through. So it just made a perfect plug, and that kind of caused a lot of back pressure, which blew the original fin can off. And there's video of that, and actually I'm showing you that video right now. As you can see here in the time-lapse picture from the video here, where the fins were there, and then what ended up happening in that video was the original design, this outer cowling was just held on by these screws here, and this little transition section here that's kind of a semi boat tail is just balsa wood. It's just a little balsa transition. It's not really made to hold a whole lot, but somehow in the design process I forgot that the rest of the fin can assembly needed to be secured on the rocket. So now you see these extra sets of screws which go into the centering rings in there, which holds everything down, and that gets around any back pressure problem. So long story there, but hey, I digressed a little bit. So anyway, that's what this little bar here is for. It kind of keeps the plastic cap from being blown into there and causing problems. I've since changed the design of the rocket, so that should not be a problem at all under any circumstance, but you know, just in case, I did that. And on this section here you see the other side of the pass-through tube for the gases to come through, and the motor ejection here is basically a backup charge. If the electronics should fail, then the motor ejection charge will go through and the gases will pass through here and separate the rocket for tumble recovery in the event that I lose my electronics. And this little hole right here is where the ejection charge goes in, and I'm going to grab one of those to show you what that's all about. Alrighty, now I'm back. Some items magically appeared on my desk here, the magic of video editing. The ejection charges that I use consist of an E-match here, and what I do is I take this E-match and I modify this little covering to make it a little shorter. And I take a centrifuge tube here and I drill a hole in the bottom of it, and then I slide the E-match through here. So in my little jar here I've got some pre-made ones that I created before. So this is a completed one right here, where there's the hole here. I make the E-match sleeve, I cut it down shorter, slide the E-match back through there. Then what I do is I take some hot glue and dab it down in here and pull it through. And the hot glue just makes a seal, just to keep anything from escaping through the back half here. Seals it up. Then what I do is I cut this little tab off and just snap this part on without the little tab on there. I don't lock any of this stuff down. Maybe for a bigger rocket I would do that, but for the little ones, you close it up too much, you create a lot of back pressure when the black powder goes off, and yeah, it's not so good on the rocket. Here's a spent one here from a previous flight. And so what happens is on launch day, I'll show you how this all works out. What we do is when the rocket's complete, you have this section here, you have a little door that screws down here. So I'm going to take this off right now. You can watch me disassemble that, and we'll show you what's inside. As you can see, Comanche here is a very well flown rocket. Since it's been an experimental design, something to make a rocket lighter and just as strong as my first level 1 rocket, Nezru. And while we've proven that works, and this proved to be the case, there was a lot of hard flying and a lot of tweaking in design and all that, so these rockets are pretty well beat up. Now, I use a pair of pliers to grab onto this little screw, which I use as a handle, because, as you see, that grips on there pretty hard. What we do here, or what I do, is on the outer section here where everything goes in, I put a bit of silicone on there, and it's flattened down. And when I put these parts on, I put a little bit of axle grease on here to form a seal to keep the pressure in at all costs. And so by the time you screw all that down, the seal is so tight that you have to use a pair of pliers to pull it off. And in this case, the rocket has been sitting several months sealed up, so a lot of the grease that was there has kind of been cleaned off and all that, so it kind of stuck by its own sticky powers, I guess, if you will. So inside you'll see here a little barrier strip and a shotgun shell. And that shotgun shell is what holds the ejection charge in place. So what we do is on launch day, we open up the rocket, take this section out, and we fish this section through the little hole in here. And then pull it on through. It seats in here. Then you trim the wiring back, attach it to the barrier strip, and then after everything's all good, seal it all up, put the screws in. I usually have a little ohm meter, just check to make sure there's continuity here before I put it all together, make sure everything's all good. And then we put the baffle back in. We'll grab that here. So then the baffle goes in after the fact, and then the front half of the rocket. This remains attached to the booster, by the way. I took this off and figured since I had this piece here, I can show you what the deal is here with this door here and how the ejection charges work. You see right here is one of the rail buttons. I put a bigger T-nut here on this side, and the rail nut screws in here, and I can always replace it if I have to or whatever. It's not permanent. But what I did do is I put a little bit so we have a nice spin here on this piece, and to keep this from going anywhere, I put a little bit of the thread lock on here, some of the Loctite thread lock, just to keep that screw in place so it doesn't go anywhere. But I can remove that and replace it if I want to. So that's the apogee charge section of the rocket removed from the rest of it here. Now the last part we'll do is we'll go over the fin can section of Comanche here and show you how that works.